best of times and it was the worst of times. It was an age of wisdom and an age of foolishness. And so goes the famous passage from Charles Dickens' classic, A Tale of Two Cities, its message becoming more and more relevant in the times we live in.
Oh, Sandy, we have 2 cracking transgender reports to do here. You might want to wrap the book report, please?
All right, fair enough. Let's get straight into it then. These people, and these people staged an epic protest on the streets of this city before flying out to this city to do it all again in front of cameras for these media networks, who wrote these articles about this person who said she was speaking for this reason, but was told she was actually this person. Meanwhile, this person, who used this app to become this woman, started to plug these brands online, especially this one, which lost this amount of money, but got this type of publicity.
Wow, you are very succinct when you want to be.
Well, you don't want to be caught saying anything these days. You know, when it comes to gender, you either waffle on and agree with everything and say nothing, or you bulldoze through a report and hope no one's listening.
Well, who are you afraid of?
No, I'm not afraid. But, you know, if people think I'm supporting Posie Parker, I'll get my threads pulled out for being anti-trans. It's a very touchy subject, Brian.
Oh, come on, Sandy. You know how this works.
How what works?
The culture wars. There's only one way to play these things out in the media.
There is?
Of course there is. We get information, Sandy. Where one goes, we all go. That's where all the fun is. Just look at all these mainstream news headlines calling Posie Parker's women's rights rally an anti-trans hate protest. Ha ha!
But it wasn't a hate protest.
Of course it was. You can keep your stories about protecting women's spaces and the differences between sex and gender when there are Nazis on the loose. That's what the people want to hear, Sandy. Let me show you how it's done. Camera 1. Brave Melburnians have faced off against an angry mob of anti-trans hate protesters led by the Nazi-affiliated transphobe Posie Parker.
Wow, you're good at this.
Victorian MPs were in attendance, including Andy Medic, who has 2 transgendered children but was unfairly arrested by the systemically anti-trans police. While right-wing MP Moira Deeming was stood down for allegedly supporting women's rights while in the company of Nazis. See? All information. There's nothing to it. Now you try.
The courageously progressive Victorian government quickly outlawed Nazi gestures such as raising one's arm, which can now incur a fine of $23,000 and a year in prison. How's that?
Perfect. Keep going.
Parker continued her trans hate tour in Auckland, New Zealand, where she was covered in soup and had her life threatened by pro-trans supporters doing the right thing. I think I'm getting it now, Brian. But I'm still not really sure about how to tackle this story about the trans influencer on TikTok.
Dylan Mulvaney, it's easy. You do the same thing. Get information with the sensation of it. You put them in every story you can, Sandy, just like the big brands are doing with their sponsorship and advertising. So Bud Light lost a little money when people got upset about Dylan's face being on a few cans, so to speak. Don't waste time reporting on these things from every angle, Sandy, or you'll end up frustrated and lonely. Like, you know.
Like Tony Nito?
Well, I wasn't gonna mention him, but yes, like Tony Nito. No one even knows where he is now. They say he's uncancelable, but you don't want to end up living your life like that, do you?
No way! But I bet he'd do an interesting report on all this trans stuff.
He did. I hear he's been on the run ever since. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, put it on.
Okay, roll the Tony Nito clip, the drudge. Tony Nito here, COVID Ops, INN News. Kelly J. Keen's a women's rights activist because she talks about women's rights. Not everyone's cup of tea, a bit like J.K. Rowling in that way. Probably could be a bit more sensitive at times, but she's got every right to discuss sex and gender and to protect private women's spaces from blokes like this. What's illegal is assaulting and threatening the lives of people who want to hear these discussions. And if Nazis show up, deal with them. Don't tar everyone with the same brush. Posie Parker's got just as much to do with Nazis as you have with those people you hate at work. And don't get me started on Mulvaney. The kid got rich on Broadway starring in Book of Mormon, then got famous rich on TikTok, sending up women for a while before the trans penny dropped. He's earning $50,000 to $80,000 per sponsorship, and much more no doubt with those viral Nike and Bud Light videos. And speaking of pennies dropping, I spoke to so-called trans ally Penny Hempsack to clarify exactly what is going on with the saturation of pro-trans news in the world right now. Hello, Penny.
Tony, you know you're not allowed to be here. No one wants to hear your right-wing hate speech.
I want to know why you're not allowed to report on Posie Parker and Dylan Mulvaney without gushing over trans people and saying they're all women and all that.
Get lost, Tony. You died to me when you didn't get information with everyone else.
What are you afraid of? This is freedom of speech. Tell me what you think.
Did you just raise your arm? You just raised your arm at me, didn't you? I'm reporting you to the government this time, you Nazi.
I just want to know.
This time you're going to jail.
You see? How do you think things are working out for him now? And to think he could have been INNformation like the rest of us.
Geez, I kind of feel sorry for him, don't you?
No, I don't, Sandy. I enjoy my job, thanks. But I would like to get that Penny Hempsack on a bit more.
Yeah, she was a great performer, I thought.
Yes, she stood up very well.